Welcome to The Now. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm John Reisinger.
Suicide Squad is out in theaters this weekend. Comic book fans everywhere itching to hear how it stacks up to the rest of the cinematic universe for DC. Is it going to be awesome? Is it going to be like Batman vs. Superman? Is it good?
Now that the review embargo is officially lifted, we thought we'd take a look at what critics are saying about the new film, which has a team of DC supervillains joining forces to take down an even bigger threat.
Which, like, on the surface, awesome, because in DC, the villains have all the fun, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, judging by the early reviews, maybe they should have teamed up to take down the DC cinematic universe instead.
Sick burn. Let's be honest, half of you watching just got really excited about that. Schadenfreude's a hell of a drug.
Well, everyone except for Redditor AJK320, who said he'd eat a Lego Batman if Suicide Squad was rated rotten.
He's gonna die.
That's gonna hurt coming out. At the time of writing, Suicide Squad is sporting a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, reviews are still trickling in since their embargo went out this morning. At the moment, there are 34 in total, so it's enough to get an idea, but it's not definitive yet.
It's enough. It's also sitting at 48 on Metacritic, but as always, we should mention that Metacritic scores are kind of wonky when translating to movies. That kind of comes out to the average reviewer's 2.5 out of 5 stars, which is somewhat respectable depending on the types of movies you're willing to subject yourself to.
I like bad movies.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that puts Suicide Squad right in the middle of the other two recent DC films. Batman vs. Superman landed at 27% overall, while Man of Steel settled at a sort of respectable 55%.
I kind of like them both. I know it's bad. I like them both.
You don't apologize for what you like, John.
I like them. I enjoyed them. Come on, Henry Cavill. Since we don't have much else to compare it to, considering these are mostly characters that have never been on the big screen before, we decided to look at Joker appearances because I don't know, why the fuck not?
Absolutely. Joker's last appearance prior to Suicide Squad was in The Dark Knight, which has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, and his very first appearance on screen ever, almost 50 years to the day, actually, was 1966's Batman the Movie, which has a shockingly high 80%, but old movies also weird on those rating sites. So make of it what you will. Either way, Joker's had a good time.
Clearly. So what exactly did critics have to say about Suicide Squad to account for all these bad reviews?
Well, the most common themes we saw in reviews were that it's interesting, kind of boring, cliched, doesn't know what to do with this many characters, that kind of thing. The Guardian calls it, quote, clotted and delirious, which is creative, while the Telegraph says that compared to Guardians of the Galaxy, quote, the film makes you cringe so hard your teeth come loose. Wow, don't go easy, guys. Holy shit.
More than anything, people criticize the movie for, well, trying too hard. The Hollywood Reporter writes, a puzzlingly confused undertaking that never becomes as cool as it thinks it is. Suicide Squad assembles an all-star team of supervillains and then doesn't know what to do with them.
To be fair, there's like 12 of them.
That was a bit too much.
Lot of supervillains. Their review also touches on the movie being too overstuffed and having way too many characters, which is echoed by the Wrap. They say the movie tries hard to make this dirty not quite dozen into an engaging band of misfits, but the results feel undercooked and overstuffed, with 10 pounds of supervillain backstory being crammed into a 5-pound bag. People are really, they're getting creative with their writing on this one. Maybe Suicide Squad is inspiring in that way.
Yeah. Many reviews also touched on the movie being kind of boring, besides the time it spends getting its anti-heroes together.
IGN's review says, Suicide Squad is a decidedly different flavor than Batman vs. Superman. It goes for subversive, funny, and stylish, and it succeeds wildly during the first act.
But then they go on to say, but then the movie turns into something predictable and unexciting. It plods on, checking off boxes on a list of cliched moments and meaningless plot points.
Interestingly enough, many reviewers also mentioned the PG-13 rating as having hurt the film. Variety, for instance, writes, like Deadpool earlier this year, it's entertaining insofar as it allows the characters to crack wise and act out, though they can only go so far within the confines of MPAA guidelines and the rigid DC mythology, which, I mean, has a point. Like, you'd expect something like Suicide Squad to be a hard R, and then it'd be a lot of fun, right?
Yeah. Others say that it felt like an R-rated movie was just chomping at the bit to be let loose during Suicide Squad.
As for Jared Leto, because let's be honest, everyone wants to know how his Joker is, the general consensus on Leto is that he only appears sparingly, contrary to what you'd think from the trailers, and isn't nearly as memorable as Heath Ledger. Nobody has much to say about him one way or the other, which is, I guess, about what everyone expected.
I am loving what Will Smith is saying about him. He hated him.
Well, Will Smith does not like Jared Leto.
He hates him.
IRL.
I love Will. So we're not only reporting on the negative, a few reviewers did have positive words to offer about DC's latest attempt at superhero filmmaking.
Forbes called it a crowd-pleasing genre entertainment with delightful performances, eye-popping visuals, fun Easter eggs, and super cameos for the fans, and a promise that the DCU will offer a wide variety of approaches and characters in the coming years. That's better.
Yeah, it's something, even if it's false. Movie site Time Out also enjoyed the film, saying, "This loony, wisecracking DC comic story, directed with anti-glossy grit by David Ayer and of Watch Fury, plays like a twisted B-side to some of the slicker movies in the comics world."
If these reviews are any indication, it seems like Suicide Squad is rounding out a unfortunately kind of disappointing summer movie lineup.
It's been bad when you think about it. Already we've had Batman v Superman 27%, X-Men Apocalypse, which was a piece of shit, at 48%, Warcraft at 28%, Legend of Tarzan at 35%, which I still enjoyed, Jason Bourne at 57%, Independence Day at 32%, which was also bad, TMNT Out of Shadows at 38%, and Alice Through the Looking Glass at 30%, and we didn't want that movie anyways.
Although, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Do you go to a summer blockbuster because you expect it to be a hard-hitting piece of cinema, or do you go because there's probably going to be explosions and shit?
I think if thinking a void
I'm the latter.
where like a movie like Civil War doesn't exist, you could totally be the latter. But when you go see something like Civil War, you're like, oh, we get explosions and a good story. It's like, well, why can't everybody do it?
Who paid you? Did Marvel pay you?
I wish Marvel pay me.
So far, the best-rated movies of the summer have actually been Finding Dory, which got a 94%, Star Trek Beyond at 83%, even though I've heard a lot of polarizing opinions on that as well. I didn't think it stacked up to some of the previous ones, but it was fine, I guess.
Let's just talk about movies for the rest of this.
We will.
Yeah.
We're gonna Ghostbusters, which got 73%. Also, I thought perfectly acceptable, not amazingly special, and
just
I
a
thought
raving
that
review. It was acceptable.
Like as a
It was
Ghostbusters
acceptable.
movie, it was totally fine. I thought it could have done without some of the dick jokes because it gave people who hated the gender swap a reason to hate the gender swap. But otherwise, I enjoyed myself.
Okay.
Civil War, which is probably the highlight, got a 90%.
Where the fuck were the other 10%? Assholes.
And Jungle Book at 94%.
That was fun. That's a whole lot of poorly reviewed movies. In fact, reviews are so poor that Screen Crush says this is the second worst summer movie season in a decade.
They actually found that data by looking at reviews for Blockbusters, which they count as anything that cost over $100 million to make, and found that 2016 summer movies have an average rating of 51.1 on Rotten Tomatoes.
The only year worse than 2016 was 2009, the summer of X-Men Origins Wolverine, Angels and Demons, Terminator Salvation, Land of the Lost, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, G-Force, and G.I. Joe. Oh, look at all those gems.
I kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
During the list.
Oh, it's like PTSD reading that list.
Never forget. This summer seems bad compared to the last two summers, which had much higher average ratings of 66.3 and 64.9. They had movies like Mad Max Fury Road, Ant-Man, Inside Out, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men Days of Future Past. Lots of heroes that did a pretty good job.
Yeah, holding Suicide Squad's poor reviews until the last few days before release may have been an attempt by DC and Warner Bros. To stave off some of the busted box office that afflicted Batman v Superman. The reviews for that movie were allowed to drop several weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, BVS trended pretty well early on, but then it fell flat because of bad reviews and ultimately bad word of mouth. It made $166 million in its opening weekend, but it dropped off more than 69% in its second weekend, which was historically bad at the time. We'll see if it keeps holding the record. That's a bad record to break. You don't want to break that record.
Early reports from Suicide Squad projections have shown that it was trending ahead of other August movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and could even make more money than Deadpool when it drops this Friday, and those projections have actually gone up even more in recent days.
Analysts are now expecting the Suicide Squad to land somewhere in the $130 to $140 million range. So who knows, maybe not releasing their reviews as early as they did for Batman vs. Superman could have helped them out this time around.
We'll have to see how it ultimately plays out. The real test is what audiences think rather than critics, which is very true.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see it. I don't care if it's bad, it looks like fun. And let's be honest, their soundtrack selection for the trailers was spot on. So,
Agreed.
I'll enjoy my 2 hours or so, and then afterwards I'll either try not to think about it so I can enjoy the 2 hours, or I'll be like, I think that was underrated. I mean, in the end, like, what you guys think is the most important thing. I mean, are you excited? What do you think of the reviews? Are you planning on seeing it anyway? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on DC's cinematic universe, like this video and subscribe to The Know.
It's bad.
Kaden is so excited
I'm so
about the
happy
bad
it's
reviews. What's this grudge you got against Suicide Squad,
They
man?
ruined every character in the trailer.
They did.
Croc looks terrible.
Well, I don't know why they went with
You know what
Croc.
he looks like?
He's got a rash.
Get
He
King
looks
Shark.
like
He was supposed to be King Shark.
Why was Slipknot in this fucking movie?
I do feel like they had maybe too many. If they'd focused on just a couple of the heroes, basically anti-heroes, the ones that they actually spend any time with in the trailer, maybe it could have been better.
Deadshot movie. That's it. They should have made a Deadshot movie and had some of these people in it for a bit, and that's it.
Kaden, you're gonna really dislike this, but I don't give a shit about Deadshot. I would like a Harley Quinn movie.
Slipknot uses ropes. That's all.
Hey, he developed those ropes.
He put glue on his ropes.
Did you see Hail Caesar?
No.
Well, a dude in it does some pretty fancy tricks with a lasso. I was like, what's up, buddy?